Well, hello, Melody. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Suzanne.
Well, here we are, a few days from Thanksgiving. I wanted to
Yes.
squeeze in a little conversation with you before November ends. It's been really wonderful to see so much in the news about caregiving, which is a
Yes,
topic close to my heart and yours. Um,
absolutely.
to introduce you to the audience, whoever is tuning in, Melody is someone I just met actually a couple of weeks
Yeah.
ago, introduced to me by someone here locally. And he said that we would have a lot in common. And indeed, we did.
We did very much. We were old
So,
friends really quickly.
yeah, so Melody is a caregiving expert. She is a consultant, a coach, a speaker on topics in relation to caregiving and the challenges of caregiving.
Mhm.
She knows the ropes personally very well, and she also owns a home health care company. So
Correct.
welcome. So
Thank
I'm
you,
so happy to
Suzanne.
have you.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. I'm always happy to talk with caregivers about caregiving. Having it been so close to my heart for such a long time, it is definitely my passion, and I'm just thrilled to have a chance to chat.
Caregivers are often carrying a large burden. So as we approach the holidays,
Mhm.
first of all, do you have any sort of tips and pointers to manage overwhelming stress of taking care of everyone and having a to-do list a mile long? Like how can we cope? What are some secrets to
Well,
surviving?
here's the very first tip. No is a complete sentence. You're not required to do all of the things. You don't have to go to every event. You don't have to go to every party. It's okay to be selective in what you choose to do because I think so many times, especially those of us who are women, we think that it's our responsibility to keep all of the balls in the air and make sure that everybody else's expectation for that holiday is met. And it's like not just like a fun, nice holiday with your family, that it's like, Martha Stewart meets Pinterest meets, Better Homes and Gardens. It's like, let's be real. Just cut yourself some slack and realize you can only do so much. So first of all, say no if you
Saying
need to.
no. Yeah.
So there's
Well,
a
and
first
Martha
tip.
Stewart Martha Stewart is
Yeah.
trending now because of that
Yes.
documentary. Have you watched it?
I did watch it. It was kind of fascinating.
I started it. I didn't finish. Any
I slept through
takeaways?
parts. I
Yeah.
slept through parts. Um, it's interesting. I think as a strong woman, she's kind of been, blackballed in a lot of ways. But also, I was kind of surprised at she wasn't the nicest, friendliest person like she seems in, as she's portrayed, like when she's like, oh, we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna have these crazy flowers. Yeah, she's a little harsh, but
Yeah, and I mean cold, right?
cold. Yeah,
There's
much more than I expected.
yeah, yeah, because we think of women that are just queens of the domestic
Yes,
arena, that they are just soft and fuzzy and warm, but
not so
actually
much.
to run a tight ship like she does, you have to
Yeah,
be a little bit tough, I'm sure. So,
exactly.
yeah, well, one of the quotes that that stuck with me is, if you want to be happy for a year, get married. If you want to be happy for 10 years, get a dog. You want to be happy for a lifetime, make a garden.
Right?
So, well, not all of us can just be full-time gardeners. We have to work and
Exactly.
earn a living. So, tell me a little bit about your business. I know you're doing the speaker circuit.
Yes,
You just finished your book, so we'll
I
be helping
did.
you promote your book
Yes.
soon.
Yay, so
Congratulations.
exciting. So exciting. Yes, coming in February 26th. So a little bit about me. I've been a family caregiver for almost 30 years. I have three children, and my middle son, Isaac, he'll be 29 in January. He got sick when he was 10 weeks old and had a respiratory arrest. And because of that, he lost his vision. He has cerebral palsy. He has epilepsy. He has communication and cognitive challenges. So I've been a family caregiver for a really long time.
Yeah.
And I was kind of that sandwich generation caregiver too, where I took care of my dad. and my kids and work the full-time job. So like smush, smush, messy sandwich. Uh,
Yeah.
so that's kind of a little bit about my caregiving journey. And then something else kind of unique is that I had a car accident in 2016. So with that car accident, I had paralysis, which thankfully has is no longer there, but suffered a traumatic brain injury and spent a number of years in the rehabilitation process. So I see caregiving from a different lens, I think, because I've also been a care recipient. So because of that, that's what really made me want to launch my speaking business and my consulting, my coaching, because I understand what it's like to be that caregiver who's not realizing the importance of self-care or realizing that you matter in the equation. And so that was really the impetus between me wanting to be in this realm. And also, my book is to help caregivers really just navigate that journey.
Tell me a little bit more about that. It sounded like you had a bit of a eureka moment when you
Yes.
yourself were receiving care. Um, share a little bit more about the learning that you had being on the other side of the table.
Absolutely, I'd be happy to. So I had sort of this aha epiphany moment in the middle of the night one night, and the realization had been coming as I watched my caregiver take care of me and do all of the things for me that I normally would do for someone else. And I just was like, oh my goodness, she's working so hard. I hope she's taking care of herself. And I hope that she's got enough energy so she can help me do this or get me to my therapy. And in the middle of the night one night, the words "rise up" just echoed in my head over and over and over. And I got out of bed, and I write about this in my book. And I took out my phone and I made this notation, and it said, "Rise up exists to refresh, inspire, support, empower, uplift, and prepare caregivers for their journey." And it was like heaven sent this message to me, and it was just like, okay, this is your job, this is now your role. You need to let caregivers know that they matter, that they are worthy, that they are deserving of care, and the only way to do that is to get out there and start spreading the message. And so that's why I started my business.
That's beautiful.
Thank
It
you.
is amazing when we have clarity in life, right? Sometimes we can
Yes.
just be muddling through and um a lot of times as a caregiver, we just have to get through that day, right? Every
Yes.
day is its own journey of you have to make it through um
Yes.
to live another day. So you do have to make sure that you have enough gas in the tank to make it through
Right.
every day.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
um how were you operating before your accident? Like, let's talk about, so you had that eureka moment and it's catapulted you into this next stage of
Right.
enlightenment and helping others. But let's talk about what's a normal caregiver experience, which is just trying to survive and
Mhm.
um, take care of everybody else. And so tell us about that chapter of your life
Okay.
prior to your own accident.
Well, I was working at that point in time. I was a speech language pathologist was my profession. So I worked in an early childhood special education program, and I saw, as I refer to them, tiny humans at a lot of different places. So I was in and out of my car a lot for work and traveling with my box of goodies from school to school and seeing little children and providing speech therapy. And I had, like I said, the kids at home. One had the special needs. I had my dad. I'm doing, just life as much as I could, balancing all of the things and just kind of powering through, right? Not really even allowing people to help me because I didn't think, first of all, I didn't want to accept help because that would mean I wasn't doing a good enough job. And also, I think part of it was I was afraid. I was afraid that if I let go of anything on that platter, which was really full and heavy, then if something didn't go right, it was going to be my fault. And that sense of kind of impending doom of I have to keep all the balls in the air and it's only my responsibility, not necessarily accurate, but that's what my brain was telling me. That's what my heart was telling me was that it's your responsibility. You have to do it all. You need to make sure everybody's okay. And if not, then that's going to rest on you too. So um, I thankfully I'm a pretty optimistic person. So I still kind of powered through. And I'm like, okay, this is just what you do. And this is what I was given in life. So gosh darn it, I'm gonna do my best. Um, but yeah, looking back now, I think you could have asked for help. And I hope people now, when I speak, understand that they also can ask for help.
It's hard to know how to ask for help.
A hundred
Do you
percent.
have any advice about how can you ask for help without feeling like you're being a burden on other people or you want it done a certain way? So,
Right. You have to decide, is done better or is perfect better? Because perfect is just a myth, first of all. Let's just get that out there on the table. There is nothing that's perfect. So sometimes done is better than what your interpretation is. So if you can realize that maybe somebody can come alongside you, but yeah, it takes that ability to release your expectation. So I think trying to release expectations in general is helpful. They generally just make you feel resentful if it doesn't come out your way. But I think also is that space of allowing yourself to be vulnerable, whether that takes getting special help from a therapist or a spiritual advisor or somebody who can come alongside you and say, like, it's okay for you to ask for help. It's for you okay for you to desire help. And if you offer, I always want to switch the thing around, right? Is switch it around and go, if somebody came to you and said, I'm sinking here, I don't know what to do, I'm overwhelmed, I have nothing left in the tank, I'm afraid that I just can't sustain this. Most of us would launch into action, right? We would listen, we would support, we would ask people, how can I support you? We would do all the things, but we
Mhm,
don't give ourselves that same grace. So
mhm,
I thought sometimes I like to just say, just flip the coin a minute. Just flip that coin and say, what would I do if someone came to me with this same experience? Would I
mhm.
just be like, oh my gosh, they're such a loser. They're so weak. They can't do anything for themselves. I can't believe they're asking me for help. I don't think so.
No. And two words came up for me when you were speaking. One is faith and one is hope.
Mm-hmm.
And I get emotional just saying that because that is what you really need to have is
Yes.
faith that there are people that can help. So one thing
Yes.
I see is it's a mindset that nobody can, nobody will. I've tried
Yes.
that, it didn't work. It is a defeatist mentality, and it's
Mm-hmm.
so easy to go there and just be frustrated and done. I can't and I won't. So it's a digging the heels in that I've tried that and it didn't work.
Yes.
So
Yes.
what I like to do is encourage and remind, and I, I look for this for myself too, is to find people who can encourage me and remind
Yes.
me that there's there are people to help you or there are solutions to your problems. I have a lot of really good friends that have been there for me
Mm-hmm.
that do that. They give me encouragement and say, here's a solution. Have you thought of that? Right. So
Mm-hmm.
having faith that there are solutions and then
Yes.
having hope that um, things will be better,
Yes.
that it may feel very dark where you are and disappointing and you you reside in that space of
Mm-hmm.
disappointment and frustration. Um, but the only solution for that is to have hope. And so, how do
Yes.
you do that? I mean, I know what's worked for me, but I mean, do you have any good pointers about that?
Well, I think those are two great words, first of all, right? I mean, they kind of sum up that whole space of our existence. If we really inherently have faith, whether that's in ourselves, whether that's in our surroundings, whether that's in our people, whether that's in a higher power, it it's all about believing something beyond yourself, right? And we're only one small cog in this world, in this universe. And I think for me, that's helpful to think about that in terms of I'm just one human in this universal experience.
Mhm.
And there's lots of other people who are having the same experience as me. I may not know them, but there's a lot of other people, that whole idea of common humanity. Other people also have challenges. This isn't just unique to me. It's not just happening to me. I think that's helpful to just kind of go, okay, like this is hard. And I know other people are experiencing hard things too, can
Mhm.
make me feel a little less hopeless. Cause sometimes it feels like, okay, seriously? Like, is there a target on my back? Like this too, on top of this, on top of this, on top of this. Sometimes it feels like everything's just raining down on us individually. So I think
Yeah.
having that sense of like, it's a bigger picture than just us is helpful to me. And then the hope piece, I think hope is wonderful, and just expecting that there is an opportunity for things to be different and be hopeful that that can occur. But also, I tell people hope is not a strategy. Hope is
Mhm.
wonderful to have, but you can't just hope this isn't going to happen, or you can't just hope it's going to get better. You also have to show some level of ability to, use the situations that you have, use the people who you have who are there for you, find those supports. So go beyond just that space of like hope, and think it as like, okay, I do hope that this changes and I hope it gets better. And I'm still going to make these choices to move myself a little bit further forward.
Yeah, I think that hope part, it's important to be real with yourself about
Yes.
what you're feeling. And if you are feeling hopelessness, that it's so important to reach out for help because the
Yes.
mental toll of caregiving, of the isolation and that self-imposed pressure to
Yeah.
check all the boxes and be successful. You and I are both sort of type
Yeah.
A,
Yes.
powerful women, and so we hold ourselves to a very high standard.
Yes.
And so, yes, done is better than perfect is something that a lot of us have to really remind ourselves that it doesn't
Mhm.
have to be a quality work. It just has to be taken care of. And
Right.
I mean, am a financial advisor, a coach to help people make good financial moves too. And um, it's a parallel thing. This being stuck and having not a lot of motivation or hope. Maybe my financial
Mhm.
situation is terrible because something happened. You know,
Right.
death, disability, divorce. Those are like the 3 Ds that can catapult you
Yes.
into terrible territory where you feel like it's too far gone for me to
Mhm.
actually come around. I actually spoke with someone recently who was expressing that, you know, such a dismal expectation that
Yeah.
they weren't willing to actually even take the first step toward making things better for themselves because they'd already assumed that the worst scenario was the most
Mm.
likely.
Right?
So we have to surround ourselves with people that are hopeful people. I mean, that's literally what I
Yes.
do is
Yes.
help people feel their potential is possible. You
Yes.
can change your trajectory by taking action. And financial
Mhm.
planning is not a one and done. It is
Right.
a recurring process of step 1, do this. Step
Right.
2, do that. Oh, and part of that process is thinking through what's important. Um Listening to your own emotional needs. That
Right.
your emotional needs are a roadmap for what action you should take. Um,
Absolutely.
if you're feeling afraid of something, uncover why is it? What's so scary about that? Um,
Mm.
Being in touch with your emotions can help you understand what's the best path for you to get what you need. And in financial planning, that's number 1. You're
Mhm.
planning for your own needs. You're trying to get yourself to a place of comfort and hopefully joy. Um,
Yes.
where you can enjoy your life and not just be working nonstop until the day that you die. So,
Yes. Yes.
let's talk about the financial ramifications of caregiving.
Yeah, that is so significant, partly because many of us who are caregivers, a higher propensity of caregivers are female. So first of all, we already know that, we are earning less money on the dollar than our male counterparts. We are often having to take breaks from our work so that if we're having babies, if we have children, we're the ones that are, taking that maternity leave, we're taking time off. Maybe we then come back and we work less hours than we were before. So that has an impact on our long range financial planning. Plus, caregiving is expensive. There's a lot of extra costs and things that can come along with caregiving, whether that's supplies, equipment, um, substitute caregivers. There's a lot of implications that go along with caregiving that are financial that people don't necessarily even think about. And what does that do to your long-term income, right? If you've taken time out of the workforce to raise children, or you got a, situation like mine where you have a child with a disability, there were definitely differences in things, or you don't go for that promotion because you don't have, the time and the space to do that extra work because you are a caregiver. So there's a lot of financial implications that people don't even consider when they're thinking about caregiving.
Mhm. Yeah, that's why it's really important to um, honor National Caregivers
Yes,
Awareness Month.
yay.
Yeah, I think that it deserves a spotlight. Tell us a little bit about what you have been working on most recently.
Yes. Well, I have finished my book. It is at the publishing stage, so it will launch February 26th. So when that comes, y'all need to buy your book that day so I can scooch up that bestseller rating list so more people can get their hands on it. But basically, it's a story of my journey. It's called Still I Rise, A Guide to Navigating the Caregiver Journey. And it tells a little bit about my story as a caregiver, my story as a care recipient, what I learned in that space. And then each chapter has its own reflection questions and journal prompts and action steps. So you can actually read the book, work along in the book, and move forward in how you build a care team and how you care for yourself emotionally and how you practice wellness. And there's just a lot of stories from my own journey, and hopefully things that people will be able to utilize to move themselves forward in their caregiving journey.
I absolutely love that. The fact that it's a workbook is amazing because that's what it will take for someone to
Yes.
actually put something into action. So that's wonderful. I look forward to helping you promote the book. Maybe
Yay.
we can do a
Thank you.
workshop
I
in
would
my
love
office.
that.
Yeah, because everyone, Melody is in town. She's a Minnesota gal, so she's
Yay.
in my neighborhood. I mean, not super local, but we
Yeah.
could very easily
Yes.
get together. So,
Yes.
thank you so much for joining me today for this
Thank you.
conversation, and I look forward to reading your book.
Thank you. I look forward to getting it out in the world. And like I said, hopefully just, those people that are actually doing that caregiving job and that living in that role, I just want them to feel that they matter and that they have value and that they can move forward with their own journey, regardless of where they are in that caregiving space.
Perfect. Thanks, Melody.
Thanks so much.